We'll be looking at Node Manager today. Now, this is one area where uh, for some reason nowadays everybody keeps talking about Node Manager. So we'll see what it is, how to set it up, how to get it running. Let's look at what it is. Now, if you observe in the domain architecture, we never really talked about Node Manager. When we talked about a domain, we said domain is a logical group of one admin and managed servers and the files related to it. There was no talk of Node Manager. Now, the reason we did not talk about Node Manager is a Node Manager is not part of a domain. This is the most important point. Node Manager is not part of a domain and it's not a mandatory component to run WebLogic. It's an optional component and it's not really a WebLogic application servers part. It's an outsider. Now, why we needed this outsider is, let's say you have a WebLogic server, which means you admin server and manage servers. Now you need somebody to monitor those servers, especially let's say something went wrong. So you need somebody to identify that it went wrong and if possible try to restart it once. Now let's see if it is coming up. Now that kind of very basic monitoring and troubleshooting is what is done by a Node Manager. But it's not a part of a domain. So what we are essentially trying to do is you have a process. The Node Manager is again a JVM. Just like your admin or managed servers, Node Manager is also Java process. So you have a process which can monitor your servers. Not just monitor, if the servers have failed, means if they've crashed, this can try to restart it. So a Node Manager is basically, it's a process used for automatic restart of managed servers and admin server. That's the definition. NM, or usually Node Manager is referred to as NM. NM is a process used for automatic crash recovery. If the crash recovery happened, so it automatically, the crash happened, it tries to automatically recover it. Now if you look at this thing, we are looking at the blue box here, which is a machine or a box, let's say, like 192.168.128.6. That's a box. Now in that box, assume there is a domain. Alright, encode daemon with 3 servers, which are these pentagons. Alright, now the Node Manager is outside the domain. The circle is the domain. Node Manager is outside the domain. Now this Node Manager can monitor servers of this domain. Now the linking between a domain and a Node Manager is done using a logical name called a machine. The machine is part of a domain that lets a domain connect to a Node Manager. So when we are configuring, what we have to do is you have to configure Node Manager, you get into the domain and configure a machine and link these two things. That's usual configuration. We'll go there in few minutes. So the circle is your domain. The pentagons inside the circle are your admin and managed servers. Node Manager is an outsider. Now you have one domain. Now we are saying Node Manager is an outsider, which means Node Manager can monitor servers from other domain also. Means not just one domain. Node Manager is simply outsourcing agent. So not just this domain can outsource the job of monitoring. If there is another domain in the same box, that domain also can outsource the job of monitoring to the same node manager. So you will have a scenario wherein one node manager is monitoring servers from multiple boxes. Now, apart from that, there are certain other restrictions of the node manager. The node manager is physical box only. This is the most important thing. Means it cannot monitor servers outside a box. For example, if you take our encode daemon, we have two boxes for this domain. Box 1 is where our encode mng1 and encode mng2 are there. On box 2 we have the third and fourth managed servers. But here the node manager can monitor only one box process. It cannot go beyond a box, physical box. Now if I want all my JVMs to be monitored, the number of boxes is what the number of node managers I need. So for each box I will require a node manager. For example, see this thing here. If a domain is spread across 3 boxes, then you need 3 node managers to monitor all the servers. Alright, so we'll come back to the remaining restrictions. Well, let's go ahead. So node manager it's basically for automatic restart of servers in a domain, and a node manager can actually work for multiple domains. Each domain is outsourcing the job of monitoring and automatically restarting the failed servers to the node manager. Obviously, NM is an external process, so multiple domains can use the same node manager. Alright, and the connection between a domain and a node manager is through a machine. Machine is a logical name. Now this name has nothing to do with physical machine, remember that. A machine is a machine inside a domain. This machine has nothing to do with a box. So when we say a box, we mean a physical box. When we say a machine, we mean a machine inside a large WebLogic domain. Now the configuration of the node manager has two parts. One is you configure the node manager and bring it up. That's the left side steps. The right side is set up your domain to be monitored by this node manager. So that's what we will be doing here. The left side part, once done, then the right side part. After these two things are done, your node manager should be able to monitor it. Now, apart from monitoring it, node manager does two important things. The first thing that we have seen is automatic restart of WebLogic servers after the crash. This is the most important reason why you set up a node manager. Another important, very useful reason is to start the servers or manage servers from the console. This is a very frequent use. Now so far we are starting the servers from command prompt. Now to start the servers from the console, if you do it now, it is going to throw out an error saying, no node manager is configured. Let me quickly go ahead and do it. I'm starting the admin server, trying to start a managed server from the console. Bin directory, start the admin. WLS admin 123, login. This takes too long. Okay, while that comes out, there is a second reason why we usually use Node Manager, and the third reason is it's automatic JMS migration. Now, if you remember, we got two types of migrations: service migration and server migration. And what we do for migration, we basically change the targets of the deployments. Means the targets of the queue is what we change. Now, to do that one, we can actually do it manually or automatically. Manually is you log into the console and do it. Automatic is you create a WLST script, you give the script to the node manager. So when node manager is monitoring the servers, when the servers crash or when the queue crashes, the node manager will simply execute the script that you have given. So the third one is also a use, but it's very unlikely that it gets used for this purpose. Most frequent uses of node manager you will see is the second type, used especially to start servers from console. The reason is even the first usage is not really useful. Automatic crash recovery, because when there is a crash, all that the node manager is doing is trying to restart it. Now just by restarting, a problem doesn't go away, which means the server will again crash. So node manager's job here is not troubleshooting anything, so it's simply trying to restart. So the problem itself, it's not solving. So just by auto restarting something, things are not going to be fixed. So even the automatic restart of WebLogic server is not that a great feature, as automatically if you restart the server, it's not going to fix the problem. It'll still be there. Let's say there are stuck threads or there is a database crash, that's why WebLogic crashed. So the node manager tried to restart the WebLogics, the database is still crashed, so the problem is still going to come back. So the most useful feature that I can see from node manager is its ability to start servers from console. So if you see it now, we go into environment, we don't have a node manager at this point. Now if you try to start any of these servers, go into console, control here, to try to start one of the managed servers, let's say, start, throws out an error. The server MNG1 does not have a machine associated with it, which means machine is the one that connects to the node manager. All the servers selected are currently in a state which is incompatible with the operation or are not associated with a running node manager. That's the point. So there is no node manager, that's why we're not able to start it. And that's the reason we have been starting all these servers directly from the command prompt always. So there may be some projects wherein they want to start servers from console, but console starting is not usually recommended. It's slow, first thing, it's not efficient, so but there still you may need it. So that's the reason why a node manager gets used, the most frequent reason. Now let's see how to configure it. Going ahead with the configuration. Now for the configuration, if you say, first you need to start the server. The node manager itself need to be started. Now for the node manager to start, it uses two important properties files. One is node manager.properties. Other one is node manager.domains. Now these two files are the most important files for node manager. In the properties file, you have all the properties of a node manager, like listen address, listen port, startup script name, whether it's enabled or not, crash recovery, the automatic restart, is it enabled or not, how is the communication between admin server and the node manager. Just now if you see this one, this communication is between admin and the node manager, so whether it should be SSL, non-SSL, what is it kind of. All these properties are set in the node manager.properties file. We also know that a node manager can manage the domains, multiples, means multiple domains. So all the list of domains that a node manager is managing is listed here. Then you can start the node manager. Alright, now after this is done, we can start all the servers from the node manager. So here the configuration perspective, only two steps. One is set up your properties file, set up your domains file. And coming to the domain part, you have to create a machine. Then you register this machine to the node manager, which means you are linking it. Then you are adding the servers that need the monitor. So you will say simply reorder this one, add a machine, add servers to that machine, link the machine to the node manager. That's what you are doing here. Alright. Then we can use WLST to interact with node manager, that also we'll see. So let's first set up a basic setup. Means we are trying to set up a node manager, bring up the node manager and configure the admin server to talk to it, and we also will have certain managed servers being monitored by the node manager. So I'm going to follow these steps. This document is already uploaded to your server. I downloaded it and just have it in front of you. So the first thing, I need the node manager.properties and I need the node manager.domains. Now both these files are available in this location. Common node manager of WL home. WL home common node manager. This is the location of the property file. Properties file. Then in a similar location, server bin. This is where the startup script is there. Start node manager.sh script. So you will set the properties files here. You will start the node manager from here. Now there is a very important point. Your starting or your startup should always happen from the properties file directory. Means from this directory. Otherwise what happens is it will try to assume that the node manager.properties file and node manager.domains file are in the current directory. That's the biggest problem that node manager has always. You need to start the node manager from this directory. A lot of people had a lot of problems because everything was set up, everything was running, but you started from a different location. It creates default files again. So this is the most important point you will remember when you are setting up node manager. You will start the node manager always from this directory. Alright? So here. Now let's go to this directory. So I'm going to that directory. Students Wl11 Oracle middleware WL home WL server common node manager. This is the file. This is that location. In this location you have only one file. You don't have the node manager.properties file. Now either you can copy it from a different box if you have that properties file, or an easier way is you have to start the node manager without the properties file. Now the node manager will think that the properties file is missing. It tries to generate it. So what we are trying to do is, first time start the node manager. Alright, let it create the properties file, then we'll kill it, then we start using the properties file. Alright, for that, so this is the first time we are starting, so I'm going to get into that location where you have the startup script server bin. I'm going to use start node manager.sh. See this one. I went here, server bin. I'm using this script to start the node manager. Start node manager. So start it. It tries to read the properties file. It cannot find it because it's not there. So it creates it. It is also loading the domains file. See this one, loading domains file. It's taking too long. Now, what's happening? This is taking too long. Let's try to restart it. I'm doing a control C. Started it again. or else we can try to get the properties file from somewhere else, some other location. Let's see the contents of the domain. Common node manager. Get that domains file. This is the domain that we have created yesterday. So let's try to remove it. I'm going to do a control C again here. Let's try to why did I remove it? I thought I'll remove this entry. Okay, doesn't matter. We're going to touch it again. Empty file we are creating. Okay, now restart it. Node manager. It's trying to load that file again. Something is not correct. Let's try to get the node manager properties files from some other location. I'm trying to get the node manager properties files from other location. Alright. Let's do a find command first. It started. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, see that. Okay. This should not be necessary now. So the node manager started with default properties file. See what happened here was it tried to read the domains, then it tried to find the properties file. It could not find. This is what the setting is. Node manager configuration properties file is not found. So it's using the default settings. What are the default settings? These are the default settings it's set up. Alright. So it will set up listen address, blank, listen port, crash recovery enabled is not enabled. We have to change all these things. Startup script, shutdown script. So the properties file is generated, and finally your server is listening on 5556. This is the node manager. Alright, this is the default node manager. We don't want it. We want to make certain changes to this entire setup. So now whatever we required is created, means the node manager.properties file is created and it's stored here. Alright, it is stored. Saving node manager configuration property means if it cannot find the properties file, it creates a default one and it stores it in the default location. So I'm going to close Control C this thing, so that's shut down. Now let's go to that location where we have the properties file. This is the properties file that was generated, and along with this the other two files are also generated. nm data, this is the log file of a node manager. Domains file we already had. So now let's change the properties file. It will change 4 properties, 4 or 5. Listen address, listen port. Secure listener, you will make it false. We don't want secure listener between, secure communication between node manager and admin. So its plain is okay. Crash recovery enabled is true. You need to enable startup script. Start script enable. Start script name you can give optional. So let's go ahead and change the parameter. So I'm going top to the bottom, making the changes. Domain file is okay. Properties version, Java version. Listen address, this is what I'm changing. 192.168.128.6. Listen port 5556. Secure listener false. Stop script enable you can set to true. Crash recovery enable, this is what we want. Automatic restart, true. Start script enable, true. What's the name of the start script? This one. Alright. So these are the 4 properties I've set up. Yes, listen port common for all the domains, because a node manager can monitor multiple domains irrespective of what domain it's monitoring. Listen port is same for the node manager. So you have listen address, listen port. 5556 is the default listen port. This will come in your interview sometimes. What's the default listen port for WebLogic? Sorry, for node manager it's 5556. Secure listener we made it to false. Crash recovery enabled we made it to true. Start script enabled true. We gave a start script name. We didn't change anything here. The second point is register your domain in the domains file. So let's go back. Alright, so this is done. Save it, close it. The second file is the domains file. So open this file up. It will have entries like name of the domain equal to home of the domain. For example, Wl11 is that our domain. Wl11 Oracle middleware, user projects, domains, and Wl11. This is our domain home. This is our name of the domain. So I'm going to give this thing here. Name of the domain equal to home of the domain, which is this. So you give the name of the domain equal to home of the domain. That's it. Like this, all the domains that need to be monitored by this node manager have to be mentioned here. So you got node manager.domains file. Then both are ready. You are pretty much done with your configuration, literally. So once you are ready, start your node manager. So let's go to the location, server bin start node manager.sh. Now it's listening on other import, other sockets or information that we have given. See this one, just make sure the two files that were given are loaded properly. One is this thing, loaded node manager configuration files from the properties, node manager.properties file. Just make sure everything is here. Listener address is there, that's good. Secure listener is false, that's good. Crash trigger enabled is true, that's good. Then the domains file is loaded, domain name mapping. This is the name of the domain, this is the home of the domain. After everything is done, now it's plain socket. Earlier it used to be secure socket. So plain socket listener started on 5556 for the host this. So this is your node manager running. You can see the node manager just like a Java process by using a ps-ef grep for Java. Alright. So you will see this is the node manager. Alright. This is a regular WebLogic server. This is a node manager. So once the node manager is up, half of your configuration is done. So this left side is done. The right side is pretty easy. Now you go to your domain, you create a machine, you add servers to the machine, the third step, and you register a machine. So let's do that quickly. So you are in the environment, you go on to machines, create a new machine. I don't understand why it takes so long. Something is wrong here. Okay. Now new, give a name to that machine. Let's call it anything you want. Let's say M1. The type of operating system or what kind of machine it is. Normally if you select Unix machine, in that case you will use the Unix machine especially when you want the node manager to come up along with the system. Virtual machines are again they use the internal hardware of this one. Alright, so otherwise let's say if you are running in a what's called the VMware, that kind of machine, because that requires special drivers to contact, or else you can select a generic one, which is normally the what we use. So Unix is when you are trying to start the node manager along with the machine. Virtual is when you are using a VMware kind of machine, or our own Oracle VM VirtualBox machine, or other will always work. So let's say we're selecting other. Want next. Here we have plain socket, means the communication bit. This is where you set up the node manager properties. See this thing. So you have created a machine, you're setting up the node manager properties. So you give plain, give the location where the node manager is running, 128.6.5556. Alright. You can enable debug if you want, otherwise finish it. So node manager is created now. Activate the changes. Now to this machine currently there are no servers added, so go to this tab, add servers. Now you will add all the servers you want the node manager to monitor. So M1 manage server 1 is added, manage server 2 is added, like that. Now if you add 3 and 4 also, which are on the second box, it will accept it, but we know a node manager cannot go beyond a server or beyond a box. So it's your responsibility here to make sure that you're not adding anything outside a physical box. In this case 3 should not be added because it cannot be monitored by that node manager. So you got 1 and 2 on the one box, right? It will be monitored. So activate the changes. So you have set up the node manager, you have added the servers. The next thing is go to monitoring. Now if you go to monitoring, you will see reachable here. If it is not reachable, it means for some reason admin is not able to talk to the node manager. So for example, let's say I kill the node manager now. I'm doing a control C here. So node manager kill. If you check it, it won't be there. So there is no node manager. This is only a Java process or admin server running. Now if you refresh this page, you see the status as inactive. This is the status of the node manager. So it's nm connect exception. Now if I restart the node manager again, right, now it's running again. Once it is running again, if I reload it, now it's reachable again. So the node manager is reachable from our admin server. So that step is also done. Once that is done, you are ready to start your servers from the console. So go to the servers, go to the control tab, have your server, start. Now when you click on start, earlier we had a problem. Now you see a request has been sent to the node manager to start the selected server. Now you can go to the log file of the node manager, which is this. If you see here, the mng1 server has been started and the output file is encode mng1.out. See this one. This was where the node manager was running earlier. When we hit the start button on the console, it started. Now before it started, this is a very important point here. It creates its own directory for that server. Where is the directory getting created? Domain home, servers, server name, data, node manager. So this file or this directory and all the files inside it are very important. So now let's say we want to go to that location. Or even before that, let's try to see if the server is coming up. This is the location. Domain home, servers. This is the server name. Logs. This is the log file we are talking about. See this thing. This is logs file encode mng1.out. This file. So do a tail fnf. It's coming up. I think the database is not up, so it's going to cause problems. Let's start the database. It will stop at admin mode otherwise. We have seen that problem already. So let's start the database. See, it failed here. IO exception. See, it stopped at admin mode or server. Why it stopped at admin mode? Because of the data sources. DS1, DS2 failed, so let's try to kill it. MNG1 is what we have. We're trying to kill it. 2547. Ideally, assuming this is a crash, your node manager automatically should start it again. So if you keep a watch on this log file, this is a node manager window. We're trying to kill our manage server here. The moment I kill it, it should kick in another process. Let's see. You see? This has kicked in a fresh process restart, which means your node manager is actually monitoring the encode MNG1. We killed it here. Node manager assumed it's a crash. It tried to restart the server. This time it should come up properly. So here, so we have checked whether we are able to start the server from console or not. We have also checked whether the node manager is monitoring the servers or not. So both things are working. Now let's go to the location where the directory is at. That's an important location. Why is it creating big files? What's the default size of the log files? There is no default size. 5 MB is usually the default size you can see from the console. Multiple files for one stop, but yeah, you can rotate the logs. Go into logging. Manage server, go into logging. Alright. You can rotate by type or you can rotate by time. So here, log files, this is a log file you have. You rotate by any of these things, either by size or by time. This is 500 KB. This is half MB. That's bad. So the moment it reaches 500 KB, or let's say you try to increase it to 5 MB, whatever size it is, it will rotate the log. But these log files are the internal logs, means under the logs directory. What you usually have in real time is the console logs, means the wrapper script based logs. The wrapper script based logs cannot be rotated here. You will need another program, outside program like log rotate to do that. So, but for these log files, you can set up, by size or by time you can rotate it. Alright. Okay, cool. So here, let's see. Now let's go to the directory where we have node manager related files for individual server. User projects, domains, and code daemon. This is going to servers. Now whenever you start a server, the through node manager, it will create its own directory inside this cd data. So servers, server name, servers, server name, data directory. In this, you will see a node manager directory. So go in there. These are the files related to node manager. It actually copied its boon.properties file, the process ID for manage server 1, what is the state of it. Then this is an important file, startup.properties file. This is a location where you define whether this server is auto restartable or not. Auto restart equal to true. Then it also tells how many times the node manager is going to try for restart, because let's say it tried to restart but it failed again. So does it keep on restarting? It won't. It will try the max 2 times. Alright. Then there is a restart delay, means between the restarts. If one restart fails, how long it's going to wait till it finds immediately it starts it. And also, if the crash is too frequent, it's not going to try frequently every time there is a crash. Means it's not going to try between 1 hour. If the crash is happening within 1 hour, the restart will not be tried. So these are some of the properties specific to this managed server. Out of all those things, this is important, whether this managed server is enabled for restart or not. And these files get created when you start the server from the console, which means for the other servers which were not started like this, you won't have this directory at this point. So if you go into data, you won't find node manager directory. There is no node manager because this server was not started from console yet. Now let's go ahead and start the server also. So go into control to start it. So the request has been sent. Now if you go back to this location here, you should have node manager. Yeah, you see, this was created just now. Earlier it was not there. So the node manager creates these files for the first time. These are important files, especially if you are trying to start your service from command prompt again. Now this is from console, so it's not necessary that you want to start everything from console always. Even using node manager, alright, you can start everything using WLST. So now you have servers which are running, alright, they are being monitored by node manager. If any of them goes down, node manager will try to immediately start it. Now this is for managed servers. Now what about the admin server? Admin server was automatically started, and node manager, if the admin goes down, node manager, does it monitor? Why not? Why node manager will not monitor the admin? We did not add it? Ah, okay. That's a very good point. So let's add it. Go into source. Let's add it. Now will the node manager monitor the admin server if I kill it? That's correct. Let's see. Let's try to see if the node manager monitors the admin also. This is MNG2. This is MNG1. This is admin. So let's take the PID kill-9. This admin kill. Let's see what happened. You see, let's grep for admin. Java grep encode ADM. Nothing. There's nothing for admin. Whereas if you do the same thing for managed server, let's say this thing 3403 kill-9, and then you remember this 3403 ps-nef grep java grep encode mng2. It's already started encode mng2 with another process ID 3663, which means a node manager is monitoring the managed server, but it's not monitoring the admin. What's the problem here? The problem is Node Manager has a restriction, means it will monitor only those servers that it started. Now in this case, Node Manager MNG Server 1 and MNG Server 2, we started them through console. Started them through console means admin asked the Node Manager to give a startup command, so Node Manager is the one that started the managed servers. But the admin server itself was not started through the Node Manager. Now the question is, if we want the Node Manager to monitor the admin, we want to start the admin also through the Node Manager. For managed servers it was easy because we had console. But for admin, to start the admin, is it possible through console? Is it possible to start the admin through console? No, because console is not available unless admin is there. Which means you need another way to start the admin through the Node Manager, and that other way is your WLST. So what you can do is, all the things that you have done so far can be done using WLST also. So your approach is going to be something like this. So you will first, you have the start Node Manager. You launch WLST, alright. Then you connect to the Node Manager. After you connect, then you start the admin server. Then you start the managed servers if you want to. Alright. So these first three are the steps that we're going to perform now. You launch WLST. You connect to the Node Manager, you start the admin. So that admin also comes under the control of Node Manager. So let me start WLST first. So student Wl11 Oracle middleware user projects domains and code daemon. Pin. I'm setting the environment just to get the Java with Java. So Java weblogs.wlst. Right. Now once it is done, now you need to connect to the Node Manager. See this thing. Now let's say admin is not up at this point, remember. So you cannot connect to the admin, you're connecting to the Node Manager. Now connect to the Node Manager, you're going to use nm connect command. So here, take a help of nm connect. nm connect. Now nm connect takes this syntax: username, password, where the Node Manager is running, what's the port number, which domain you are trying to connect or you are trying to manage, what's the location of the domain, what's the protocol to connect to the Node Manager. If all the details are given correctly, you will be able to connect to the Node Manager. So let's give the details for our domain. nm connect, alright. Ours is WLS admin, WLS admin 123. Now this is another problem here. Now to connect to the Node Manager to manage this domain, the username password is not of this domain. Every domain has a separate username password created for its Node Manager. Let's see that. So you go to the domain. Oh, we don't have admin server. Let's start the admin first. Alright, it's running. WLS admin 123. Right? Now if you go to domain, advanced, you will see a node manager username password. Not sure where it's set up. Security. Keep forgetting it. Security advanced. Yeah, here this one. See. Click on the domain name here. Security tab. Advanced. Under advanced, you will see a node manager username and a password. This is automatically generated. You see this username? This is a username and the password you are expected to use when you are connecting to the node manager here. Instead of this, let's say we change it. We change it to something else. Alright. NM user. Let's say we are giving it NM password. Here also NM password. Save it. Now remember, this is the node manager username password. Means if you want node manager to connect to this domain, a node manager has to provide this username password. So I give an NM user, NM password. Now the same details you're going to use here. NM user, NM password. Then the listen address, listen port of node manager. 192.168.128.6 555.6. The domain for which we are trying to connect to the node manager. Excuse me. What's the name of the domain? Encode daemon. C caps, D caps. Then, yeah, it can be different for different boxes, and it can be different, no issues. So domain home, this is insert and something is wrong. It's trying to connect using SSL. It should not. Oh, we did not give the protocol. You see, we are supposed to give the protocol. We did not. So plain protocol. So let's say I copy paste the entire thing here so that we can use it later. Right. Username, password, IP port, domain, domain home, and finally the protocol with which we are trying to connect. This is important. Alright. Once you have all the details, enter. Yeah, you are connected to the node manager. Once you are connected, you are good to start anything. Now anything that you execute here is basically executing on the node manager itself. So I'm going to kill the admin server now and then start it immediately from the node manager. Now once it is started from the node manager, even if we kill it, it will be restarted. So now if you see it, it's not started. ps-ef grep for Java, grep for encode ADM, it's nothing, not running. Now we are connected to the node manager. Start it. Now to start a server, you're going to use nm start. Nm start. This is the command. It takes a very simple argument, nm start, the server name, any properties. or simply you can say nm start the server name. So I'm going to say nm start the server name encode ADM. Now it's starting the admin server. This looks at the startup.properties file in that directory. It will try to start it. So the ADM is started. Now you can actually see this command. Alright. Now admin server is up and running. Now we can go to the log files of the admin server. Servers, server name, logs. This is the log file. tail-f, a log file. Alright. This is what is up. Now I'm going to check whether this is being monitored by the node manager or not. So this is my process. 4528 is the process ID. I'm going to kill it, grep it again. This is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to kill it first, immediately going to execute this command. I will check the process ID. If it is different from 4528, it means it was restarted. So kill -9 4528, kill it, start it again. It's different, 46647. It means it's started again. Now check the log file. Do it quickly. It's already up. So here you're looking at the admin server being automatically started by the node manager in the event of crash, which means even your admin is now under the control of node manager. Now once that you have started admin, you can actually start the managed servers also from the same location using the node manager. But the servers are already running, so we're not starting here. So what we've done is you have started all the servers from the command prompt. Now most important of all this command prompt related stuff is the starting of the admin server, and the second thing, the node manager username password. That's one area where many people don't know about this thing. So they try to use the regular username password. It keeps on failing. So they spend hours fixing this problem. So you need to set up a node manager username password, which can be done from each domain's console. So to manage that domain, you have to give that username password to the node manager. Then only your domain is going to allow the node manager to connect to it. Alright. So apart from this, there are certain other points about node managers, small kind of thing. So interacting with the node manager is we have started the node manager. You connect it to the node manager, then use the node manager to start up and shut down the servers. That's what we have done just now. Now these are some of the other commands that can be used at WLST prompt. We have used this one, nm connect, nm start. These are the two things we have used. We can use nm disconnect. Let's try to use it. So where is it? Yeah, this is where we used nm start and nm connect. Now I'm going to disconnect. So successfully disconnected. The other command is nm itself, which will tell you whether you are connected to the node manager or not. Alright. Let's say if you are connected, I'm going to connect again. Let's say I connect again. Now if I do a nm, it says currently connected to the node manager. It gives you the status. nm gives you the status. Apart from this, you can nm start is there, nm kill is there. This is to stop the server. You can actually start the node manager from the WLST prompt using start node manager. Instead of the Unix prompt startup, it can also be started from the WLST prompt. Alright. So here there is no backup server for node manager. If nm fails, all the servers will be without any monitoring, and this is the biggest reason why node manager is not being used. The first reason is Now you have seen the uses of Node Manager. Just to summarize, the uses of the Node Manager we have seen: it can automatically restart the servers. Your managed servers get started. It will allow servers to be started from console. That's also a nice feature. In spite of having these two good features, why we don't use Node Manager in 99% of the times is because of the overhead it brings in. The first point we talked about is NM is per box. Normally in a production system you will have anywhere between 5 to 10 boxes for a domain, which means you need 5 at least node managers to manage those servers, one per box. Now if the node manager itself goes down, you have a problem, which means you need some other program to monitor the node manager itself. Now if we are monitoring a node manager, why can't we monitor the WebLogics directly? Because node manager is not doing any in-depth monitoring. It simply checks whether a server is up or not, and it tries to restart. And commercially there are a lot of other tools available that will give you in-depth monitoring of WebLogic JVMs. So that is what is being used many times rather than what we say the node manager way of monitoring. So node manager, it does give certain features. The most important feature among them, or most useful among them, is ability to start the servers from console. Apart from this, neither the first one gets used, automatic restart, nor the last one, GMS migration, never gets implemented because we have distributed queues. So, but for some reason node manager is that the one that gets asked always, because I don't know, it's right from the beginning. That's why it is, because I think setting up node manager is a little tricky. That's the reason people tend to think it's a complicated topic. So probably you will get questions out of it. Node manager is not tricky. You have to know the fundamentals, because that comes with little practice. So you set it up. Once you're good with fundamentals, that's it. You won't be using it in real time. It's a messy thing, because for example, see, for now our current situation, you have the managed servers up and running. Now let's say I want to stop one of the managed servers. Now if I want to stop one of the managed servers, the only way I can do it is by going to the console or by going to the WLS. I can't kill it. If I kill it, node manager will try to restart it. So that's a pain. Kill command cannot be used once you have the node manager. And kill is the most frequently used command, because servers hang, servers don't respond, you want to do things fast. So without kill command, it's difficult to work with WebLogic. And the moment you have kill, node manager comes in and interferes with your work. So that's our current situation with two servers itself. Now if you are troubleshooting a large number of servers, you have too many issues. So node manager is not used in real time most of the times, except for the second reason, where you want to start the managed servers from console. Alright, that's your node manager. So set it up and see if you get a hang of it. That's all for now. So if you have any questions, shoot, otherwise you can disconnect. We'll be closing a little early today. So any questions?
Anil, this is Srinivas.
Yes.
Like in the Windows, we can start a
Service. That's correct.
like in Linux too. Can we set it up as a like a daemon or so?
Yes, you can set it up. You can set it up as a daemon, but setting up a daemon is a mess. Instead of that, you will use a simple process. I'll tell you, use this process in your environment if you are using it. Don't set it as a daemon. In the cron, the latest cron, especially with Linux, you have an option to set up @reboot. So if you do a cron tab -e, you can set up a cron job like this @reboot your process, which means whenever the server starts, the job gets executed. So you will put the startup for the node manager with a reboot thing. That's an easier way of doing it. Recently we were trying to set up a demo and it was a mess because you need to change the RC scripts and other stuff. And a much easier version we found is this one, because this is everything is in our control, so we don't have to depend on system admins to do that for us.
Okay. So like practically, like when you are starting, first you start the node manager, then the admin server, and then the manage servers, like
That's
when
right.
you are bringing up the box. Okay.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. And you mentioned like so the user ID password for the node, like if you have more than one domain on the same box, so the user ID password can be different for different domains, the
Yes.
node manager.
Yes, that's a different domain level, so it can be different.
It can be different. Okay. Yeah, thanks.
Any other questions, guys?
Maybe I'm just this is Srinivas again. Like those what you call class path and those when we do the start the domain, like all those parameters what gets invoked. Do they get invoked with the node manager too, like the class path
Yes,
and
yes,
all
yes.
those things?
Yes. The process is still same. It uses the start WebLogic script only.
Okay.
So it's going to do the exact same things that we do manually. Nothing different. So it has to set the class path, everything. Otherwise, the startup script the server will not start up otherwise.
Okay.
It uses the same start WebLogic.sh script internally. How do you create a service? I think there is a script that comes. A .exe file comes with your WebLogic installation. Install nm as a service.exe. You just have to execute that script as an admin, system admin. So it will create a service. It comes with WebLogic. Install node manager as a service.exe. To execute that script, it will create a service for you. You can open that file and change the name of the service also if you want. It is .exe file, so right click and edit it. You can make certain changes to the name of the service, etc. and execute that script. It will create the service. Check it in common, in WL home server bin, the same location where you have start node manager.sh. In Unix, in Windows, you will have start node manager.exe, and another script will be there, install node manager as a service.exe.
And Anil, I have a question regarding the when we do the cluster, like the admin cannot be like if managed servers are in a cluster, like one fails, things go on the other one. But I guess we cannot do the admin server, right? It cannot be active.
No, admin has no backup.
Yeah, so what is the procedure to move over from one to the other?
Ideally, in real time, you will set up a Veritas cluster at the box level. So if one box fails, the Veritas software will start the admin server on the other box. The IPs will be same. Means you will be working on the virtual host name.
So in that case, in that setup, then the admin server itself has to be on a separate either virtual host or on its own host?
Yes. The admin will be on a different setup with a Veritas volume manager.
Okay.
So node 1 goes down, admin goes down, so the volume manager will start admin on the second box automatically. And instead of using listener address here, we are using IPs, right? There we don't use IPs, we use host names. And when the switch happens, the host name still remains same, because the single host is associated with two IPs in that case.
Okay. Yeah.
So the active one is the one that will be used, and passive, the one that is passive will never be used. So the managed servers won't even know the admin failed and restart, because they are always communicating on the host name port number.
So is there any write-up available on the web or from you how it is done, or?
No, we don't do that actually. See, check with your Veritas guys, means the
Okay.
system admins. They will ask you what is the script you want to execute. So you give the start admin dataset. That's it. The rest of the things they will set it up for you.
Oh.
They ask you, if node 1 failed, what is the script you want to get executed on node 2? You want start admin dataset to be executed.
Okay.
So they will set it up in that Veritas software.
So is that Veritas is specific to Solaris or no? Like it can be used Veritas?
It can be used anywhere.
Okay.
It can be used on Linux also. You will see a Veritas in most all the production systems, or most of them at least. That's a kind of mandatory for hardware clustering.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, guys.
How many classes still we have left over for?
I'm assuming 4. We got SSL, security, and performance tuning. So performance tuning will have 2 sessions, and if possible, SSL security will take 2 sessions. Yeah, 2 plus 2, 4 sessions. So 31st is tomorrow. Oh, oops. We'll be finishing it with 3rd. Oh, that's not. I was planning on starting on 2nd as well. Okay, I'll check that one.
Yeah.
We have 4 sessions, that's for sure, but we're going to finish it tomorrow, or it's going to extend till 3rd. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
Yes, Dinesh, what's that? Dinesh, what's the question? Can we have the restriction on the videos remote? No, it's not possible, Dinesh. That's for security. Why do you want it remote? Some of the students have given the videos to my competitors. He's playing them on the session. Why you are worried about the views and time? You have enough views for all the students. Time is what we have, right? What issues did you face? Let me know. What issues? What was the issue? Don't worry about those things. I will give you fresh ones. We have changed it from views to minutes now, so you will have enough minutes. I'll give you those things again.
I remember you mentioned like once the classes are done,
Yeah,
You'll
I'm
give
going to
something
create
with
a
the
fresh one.
number of minutes, fresh one. Okay.
That's right.
Yeah.
Then next, don't worry about the views exhausted. You guys won't have problems with the problems. I have problems with my competitors. That's the reason I put it. I'll give you fresh now videos with minutes, not with the views. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. We are trying to include it with the times. We will have at least 5 times the original video. Views is not the restriction. That's how we're gonna have it. Okay, guys. I'll see you tomorrow, same time. We'll talk about security and SSL. Yep. Thanks very much.